guys, welcome to Weebs In Motion.
Hey.
We have... Introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is John, I'm a weeaboo.
I'm Jeff, I'm also a weeaboo.
I'm Mike, I'm not a weeaboo, but... I'm not a closet. Whatever. Alright, today we're going to talk about a couple of things on Weebs In Motion. Our first topic is, what are the origins of the term weeaboo? Alright, so to start off our first topic, I actually want to ask our camera woman, what do you think the term weeaboo means, Jess? Just take a guess.
Weeaboo, isn't it like they pretend to know about anime and stuff, but they don't really know?
I like that guess.
That's a good
Lindsay?
That they want to be anime, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's like they put their entire life into anime and Japanese like stuff.
Like,
Oh.
they know the basics, but from that, they think they know everything.
I like those definitions. All right, I'm gonna go next, not because I'm important, but because these two actually looked up the answer. Okay, so what I understand a weeaboo to be is somebody who's like obsessed with anime and Japanese culture to the point that they like renounce all of their original heritage. They want to move to Japan because America, sucks and all this other good stuff. So starting with John. Where did it come from?
You just sold the answer right out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing. So they think of it as like Valhalla, in a sense.
Valhalla.
Valhalla. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or Shambhala.
Shambhala. Okay, Jeff, your turn.
Wait, alright.
Yes, your turn.
Alright, so, yeah, basically they think that every other culture except Japan's culture is crap. And so they just say, well, hey, I want to be Japanese as best I can. So they try to usurp the culture into their own being.
Using big words today. I like it. Usurp. I don't even know what that means.
Alright.
I know what usurp means, guys. No, I know what usurp means. All right, so the next topic that we actually want to talk about is why don't we have more Americanized anime? And I'm going to turn it over to John because this was actually a topic that he wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I was thinking shows like Last Airbender or Legend of Korra. Those are perfect examples of what I would say Americanized anime. And Jeff, Ruby, right?
Yes.
That's another good one. And I did some research. Apparently Dexter is also one of them, which I did not know about.
Dexter, like Dexter Morgan, like serial killer
Yeah,
Dexter?
man. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
he was
man,
telling-
totally.
When he was also that same Dexter was telling his sister Didi Gamma laugh, and he's always like got all these like cool, tech and gadgets. And then when something extreme comes in, he brings out his big old robot, which is something that's kind of inspired, like Gundam, for example.
So Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, Dexter's Lab.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what he meant.
You.
Alright, so I think Americans, I'm not Americans, I think Americans are trying to make the step into anime by, occasionally doing series that, embody a sort of American version, like, for example, being Neo Yokio from,
That's a great example.
from,
Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith, my bad. Yeah, it's done in the anime medium, because anime is technically a medium.
Yeah.
However, it is more Americanized by the use of the use of slang that's common to Americans. It isn't common to other cultures out in the world. So Neo Yokio and alright.
Oh, no, I was just taking it. No, keep going. I was spitting out my gum. I was trying to be casual about it, but I guess not.
I think Powerpuff Girls is another one too. That's inspired by anime.
They did do that, what is it, Powerpuff Girls, like X,
Z.
Z.
Yeah. And then I think they did another one. I don't know what that was. Oh no, they did a reboot. And
Yeah, they did
I
the
can't
reboot,
do
which
that
was terrible.
Yeah.
So, believe it or not, we actually do have a lot of Americanized anime, whether people want to identify it as Americanized anime or not. But then we have specific examples like when you have Marvel teamed up with a Japanese team to make the Iron Man anime. It was an anime that lasted 5 or 6 episodes.
Same thing with Deadpool.
Right.
And guess who the voice actor is?
Nolan North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say wait, is that the same guy who does Dio's voice in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
No.
Okay, because he does Deadpool's voice in that.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's pretty
But
sick.
we also have there was like a little X-Men Wolverine spin-off type show that was also another one. We have
The four main Marvel animes were Wolverine, Iron Man, Blade, and X-Men.
Yes.
No,
I'm glad you remember. I was supposed to say.
I didn't know all that.
That's
I know
why he's the king of weeaboos, guys. He's the king. I want this to go on the record. This guy's the king of weeaboos.
Oh, oh.
Anyways, real talk though. And like, even it's so popular. We have shows like Supernatural. Supernatural was an anime, and when I actually saw the first episode, I was blown back. It's a pretty good series, which kind of leads me into our next topic, which is why is calling anime and cartoons the same thing such a big deal. So, Jeff, would you like to start first?
All right. Well,
I'm sorry, I should ask. Do you think it's a big deal calling anime and cartoons two separate things, or could they be one category?
technically speaking, anime and cartoons are one category. Technically speaking. Now, whether anime fans, weeaboos, otaku, whether they want to acknowledge that is up to them, and it's up to their interpretation. Because a lot of otaku and weeaboos think that, oh, cartoons and anime are two separate things because the content is different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like anime deals with more heavy kind of content, like racism, war, and just
real life problems.
Yeah, real life issues. Whereas Americans typically think of Americans tend to think of cartoons as something like you read on a newspaper page. You know, just something.
Sometimes
yeah, comic strip.
Sometimes it'd be like some kind of lesson that you would learn from it too.
But
sometimes.
if we want to go with that argument, we could also say, I can give you an example of at least one or two cartoons off the top of my head, like Steven Universe. If we want to talk about a cartoon that addresses like real life issues, a couple of the characters are like gay. Like
Steven Universe is a really good example of that.
Yes.
They have a lot of really deep topics.
Yes, like Garnet, one of the main characters, spoiler alert guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Garnet is like a fusion of two gems, and these are two female gems. When they first found out, there was like a lot of backlash because they're like, hey, you shouldn't be teaching our children about, these types of things. But I think it's important to teach children at a young age about why this is okay and why we need to see examples of that. Because if we don't see examples of that, ignorance continues.
It's not even just that. The fact that Steven lost a parent at such a young age, that itself is a really deep,
Yeah.
is a really deep concept for
See,
kids to grasp.
I never even thought about it like that. Because, when I think of Steven and his mom and all this other stuff, but maybe because I haven't, lost a parent, I don't look into situations like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but it is a thing that I guess it doesn't really go unnoticed in the show either. They definitely have a lot of moments in Steven Universe where Steven is like, yeah, no, I don't have a mom,
Yeah.
and that sucks. So there's a lot of that in there as well.
Him and
It is.
Naruto have something in common too, in a sense.
I like that. I was about to say you weeb, but I forgot we're in the middle of Weebs In Motion, so I can't say nothing.
Weebs In Motion.
But yeah, see, that's been a great parallel. Steven Universe and Naruto. You could take two seemingly different characters, and because they both lost a parent,
Yeah.
you can make them
Connect
relatable. You can connect them.
Yeah.
I think that's
Same
important.
with Adventure Time with Finn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That too.
Oh my gosh.
That's a very interesting story, but let's not get off topic with that. I don't want to get carried away talking about that.
Alrighty, guys. So we're gonna change the topic now because I realize not everybody knows the difference between these next two things that we're gonna talk about. The next thing we're gonna talk about is otakus, being an otaku versus being a weeaboo. So we defined what a weeaboo was. It's somebody who basically almost like renounces their culture, American culture, and it's like, hey, Japan is the best. Screw America. I'm moving. Versus, what do you think in otaku? So what's an otaku?
An otaku is basically the term otaku is basically Japanese in origin. Basically, it's the Japanese term for geek, basically. But otaku, it's more widely accepted in America to be called an otaku, whereas in Japan, it is one of the nastiest derogatory terms you can be called.
Oh, yeesh.
Because there's just a negative connotation with otaku, because apparently from what I've read and what I've studied, otaku come across as not very sociable, or with the opposite sex, they are
Are you It's hitting a little close to home there. What's your definition of otaku? I don't like
Otaku
where
is
this
pretty
is
much
going.
like a more acceptable term, like what Jeff was saying over here. So it's like, if you enjoy anime, you're good. If you enjoy Japanese video games, you're good. And if you happen to have an interest in learning the Japanese culture, you're fine. That's pretty much what I see it otaku as.
But isn't that the same thing as being a weeaboo?
Or is
No,
it like
weeaboo
just-
is like,
Because
There's
screw my own
levels.
culture, I want to live in this culture. Valhalla. praise Japan. That's what
So
that's
it's
weeaboo
like
right there.
on the scale, it's otaku and then it's weeaboo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kinda.
Yeah,
because
pretty
But
much.
versus what you're saying is in Japan it's not okay to be an otaku. So from what I've understood about being an otaku in Japan, like he said, it's terrible, but there's also different levels of terrible. You could be a neat. A neat somebody who's like single, usually in their 30s, and they're still living with their parents and or their parents pay for where they live, their food, take care of everything. So what's the difference between a neat and an otaku in Japan? Do you know?
otakus are basically, while they're not very sociable for the most part, and this is just from what I've read, I'm not going to speak for everyone out there, but I'm just saying from what I've read, otaku, while they are social outcasts in Japan, kind of, they are still willing to go outside, willing to do whatever they can to appease their likes and interests. Whereas neets are basically shut-ins. They don't work, they don't do anything. They just don't do anything except be on the internet, watch anime, watch whatever they feel comfortable watching, you know. Whereas so otaku can basically go outside and do whatever they want. You know, they might get looked down upon, but for the most part, they're still willing to go out there and still willing to be a part of the world. Whereas neets basically are kind of like shut-ins.
I like that.
Yeah.
Huh. So
Prime example, what's his name from that one anime?
No Game No Life.
No, not that.
that is a good example.
No, that I mean, yeah, but I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking, what's that main character's name? Kazuma from Konosuba.
See, I would consider him an otaku and not a neat because he didn't have his mom go pick up the video game for him. So we're talking about an anime called Konosuba where this guy in the beginning of the series decides to go out and get his favorite video game, and on his way back he dies. Okay. Now, the reason I'm saying he's an otaku versus a neat is because he decides to go outside. A neat would not leave their house at all.
But would a neat spend 5 hours round trip taking a bus just to pick up a video game and come back home? All that
No.
5 hours?
No.
Okay.
But an otaku would. A neat literally does not leave their house at all.
Neets are, I guess, I don't want to say that neets and hikikomoris are like the same thing.
Yeah, because they're
but
not.
they're sort of similar, but they're not at the same time. They're a little bit different, you know.
All right, guys. For our last topic, I want to talk about sub versus dub because in the otaku underworld, that's a big thing. You know, people have lost lives, friendships, wives, children. You know, it's just terrible. And I would like to start with Jess. So, Jess, which do you prefer, sub versus dub?
Now I prefer subbed, definitely.
Why?
As I watched more dubbed animes, you see the same voice actors for different things, and it's hard for me personally to like. I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and then I watched what is Goron,
Oh.
and I couldn't see Tamaki as anything other than
Edward O.
yes, and it's just hard, and you see the same voice actors all the time.
Get it? That
So,
makes sense.
I like they probably do the same thing with anime,
Say you-
but to me it's different because I'm reading it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's a little bit different. So
that
I
makes sense.
prefer subbed.
What you? What? I'm sorry. What
Also,
you?
there's more options. There's a lot more options with the subbed.
What do you mean?
Because there's a couple times like I've looked up dubbed versions of the animes that I want to watch and haven't been able to find them, or like they have half of the season or something like that, and then they just stop making it,
So-
the dubbed versions. So it's just like
That makes sense.
it's easier just to look up the subbed version.
Because you know how, like,
Yeah,
for
like
example-
they lose license, like they don't pick up the license. Like perfect example, Pollock.
Yes.
It was dubbed. The first season was dubbed, but apparently Funimation couldn't get the license for the second season, so the second season was subbed. But since Funimation couldn't get the license for the second season, it just went undubbed. So dubbed series go on as subs because sometimes the company that dubs them can't get the license for it or something like that.
So Jeffrey,
Yes,
which do you prefer, dubs or subs?
I prefer dub.
Why?
The reason why I prefer dub is because it's a lot easier to understand. Because sometimes I have a hard time reading, especially because sometimes they're getting better with it, but sometimes the subtitles kind of blend in with the background, so you can't really understand what they're saying sometimes. But also, one of the reasons why I like dub over sub is because, two reasons. One is because, English voice actors are working their butts off all the time trying to bring the anime that we love into English. So and me being a voice actor, or starting down the path of a voice actor, I understand the struggle that they have to go through and everything like that, so I respect that. And of course I want to support them in their dubbing actions. The second reason is because it's more of a technical issue. When it comes to dubbing, when certain anime touch upon other languages, like German, French, English, British or something like that, Japan, they can modify their own dialect. The Japanese people can modify their own dialect to make it sound like it's foreign to them, but they can't do accents to where we understand them. So for the most part, perfect example, Helsing and Helsing Ultimate. It took place in England, and it dealt with Ireland, England, and Germany. All the seiyus that did work, they did good jobs, but they couldn't. I couldn't feel the life coming from the lines because I knew what what regions they were trying to touch upon, and I just couldn't get behind it. But at the same time, but in dub, the English people were dubbed by British actors. Germans were dubbed by people who could at least do a German accent. And you had English in there just for normal, just for Alucard being, even though he's Romanian, when he spoilers, when he touches upon his past, he actually does do a Romanian accent, and it is very well done.
Yeah,
that is true. That's what I do. I watch both. I like to go back, especially with specific episodes that I'll be like, when they mention something, I'll go back and watch the dubbed version and see what they say instead of the subbed version. Yeah. I don't know if anybody that's
I kind of do that sometimes myself.
But I'll watch it first subbed to get what the Japanese artists, what they wanted me to get out of it, and then I'll go back and watch the dubbed version to get more in-depth story, so that I fully understand it more.
See, I relate. So me personally, guys, I prefer sub. There's a reason I prefer sub. That's when I first started, we all of us, when we first started watching anime, I'm pretty sure we all saw things dubbed. Yep. We weren't going to, when we first saw Dragon Ball Z, there was no way we watched it sub. Because we would have heard Goku's voice and been like, what is this, right? No, but we love Goku. But as I got older, I appreciated subs more because, his voice is certain characters in sub just give me, this whole feeling of, oh my god, I'm in this character. For example, my favorite anime, Gurren Lagann, greatest anime of all time. Just preach. One of my favorite characters, Kamino, when he was in Japanese, I just felt it. I felt it. And then I went back to watching it in English, and I was like,
I thought it was phenomenal in English.
What?
Shoot.
But see, there's a difference. I kind of another one, a good one example, in my opinion, for dub though, is Your Lie in April. I watched Your Lie in April in Japanese first, right? It was touching, heartfelt.
I love Your Lie in April.
Brought a tear, right?
Yes.
Brought a tear to my eye, right?
Getting a little spicy thinking about it.
You a little spicy.
Get a little spicy.
Man, it hits you right here, man.
But when I watched it in English, oh my god, it told a completely different story, and I was just like, and I cried almost from one episode all the way to the end. I cried almost every episode because I'm like, oh my god, this is so beautiful, and I missed out because I'm a sub snob, and I'm still a sub snob. Okay, that's not gonna change.
If I may.
Yes.
I do appreciate some subs because I personally believe that no English dub actor would be able to portray a certain character. Perfect example, Beetlejuice from Re:Zero. The way the Seiyu in Japan carried the lines.
Can you explain to the audience what a Seiyu is?
A Seiyu is basically the Japanese version of a American voice actor. Seiyu literally means voice actor, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure Seiyu means it's a voice actor. And, but the Japanese voice actor, Seiyu, basically did such an amazing job with Beetlejuice in Re:Zero that I personally believe that if the series was to ever be dubbed, I honestly don't think that they could find anybody that would be able to do that character justice compared to what he did, what the Japanese version did, because he was just so passionate. He carried the lines so well. He made the character, and when somebody makes a character, it's hard to see anyone else voicing that character at all.
Yeah.
Perfect example, Constantine. Constantine in live action, he became so popular, he became the definitive Constantine, and so now he has such a big following that now no one else is allowed to voice Constantine for the most part except Matt Ryan. So he became the definitive Constantine. So just like the Japanese Seiyu, I don't know his name, but the guy who did Beetlejuice is probably the definitive Beetlejuice. And if they dubbed it, I don't think anyone could do the role justice at all. But John, it's up to you now.
I actually like both overall now that we've talked about it, because if I were to pick, I would pick dub. But
why? Why?
I just prefer dub because sometimes, like when you read subtitles, like Jeff was saying earlier, sometimes it blends in the background. It's like I can't read it, I have to rewind it, and then sometimes you rewind too much, and I'm like, oh my god. And especially when it comes to certain anime, there's a lot of like stuff to read, like the Monogatari series. I can't read all that crap in like a fraction of a second. That's too much.
Yeah.
I have to pause the whole thing just to watch it.
That does get irritating sometimes.
Yeah,
and especially when they do like two sub lines at the same time, like one on the top.
Yeah,
and one on the
And
I'm with you on that. I'm
like,
completely when they have like a TV going in the background and they have like the sub what they're saying on the TV.
Yeah.
And then they have someone talking over the TV.
Yeah, you got two different subtitles. Like
There's two different things.
Reading.
Oh, how do I read it? Oh.
And then it's
Well,
one.
clearly you guys need to get on my level because I can read both at the same time. Okay.
And that's why he's a teacher, by the way. Used to be. So you can cut that out. Anyway.
It's too late now.
Anyway, but there are some really good subs out there for me, because when it comes to some English dubs, like, have you heard Goku in sub? Oh god. I can't.
Right? Isn't it terrible?
I can't.
It's like it's a woman. It literally is a woman.
Yeah.
Okay. And
It just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right.
But I mean, have you heard Ganta Igarashi in Dead Man Wonderland?
Oh my
in
god.
Dub?
English?
In English?
Some people can pull it off.
The worst.
Some people
That
can
voice
pull off
actor
some
was a
can't.
perfect example of that I was going to bring up. In our anime club, we watched, what's it called? Negima?
Yeah,
Negima. And the same voice actor who did Gonta from Dead Man Wonderland in English did his voice. And he did a British accent. And I'm going to say it was terrible. To me. Because of his arty scratchy voice, I'm not making fun of the voice actor, but because of his arty scratchy voice, put a British accent on top of that, and I just couldn't even finish this. I couldn't.
No, I'm not saying he's not a bad voice actor. He definitely portrayed all of the emotions in Dead Man the Wonderland.
Yeah.
His screaming was intense.
On point, right?
Intense.
It was on fleek.
But it's just, there's some points where it's just like, it's too much. It was too high pitched. It was too loud. It was just...
It got annoying.
Well,
Rest in peace, headphone users.
but you have to. So one, it's either I can't tell because the person that does Negima and the person that does Ganta, I don't know if they're the same voice actor because they're twin voice actors.
Oh.
It's Christopher and Greg Ayers. They're twins.
Oh.
So sometimes one of them will do one voice and the other one will do the other voice. Sometimes they'll switch out because they're kind. I don't know if they're identical twins or fraternal twins, but they pretty much have similar voices. So it's kind of hard to pick out, unless you see the credits, which one is doing which. So, and I know one of them has certain medical problems going on. You know, I will put his business on blast, but he does the best with and he does an amazing job in other series. You know, it's just sometimes his vocal range is it's kind of it's wide, but at the same time it's kind of narrow too.
What were you about to say, John?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say there's some really good subs out there if you find the right one. Like, for example, this one anime I saw, Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. So their sub is hilarious, especially if you like the raunchy humor they got going on. And I also like how they put down a few broken English in their dialect sometimes. Like,
Yes.
the Demon Sisters in that show, they would say, "You must follow the rules." They say that when they say that in the Japanese, it's freaking hilarious. And you watch the English one, it's like, wait, they didn't roll the R's. What the heck is this? I can't watch this show.
And that's the problem with translate. That's the breakdown in translation. Because even I have a friend who speaks Japanese, and so he'll hear me listening to anime, and he'll ask me what the word they just said, and he's like, "That's not what that word means," because he studied Japanese, and he's like, "That's another one of the breakdowns with."
I was gonna say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Translation.
Translation. Thank you. That's like another issue with translation because, like, when you go to put it in they try to adapt it so that we can understand it best, which is I agree with, but at the same time we're also missing out.
We're
on some
losing a
things.
little bit of the story.
Yeah. And me studying voice acting and like that, I've learned that when you translate it from Japanese to English or from whatever its original language is to English, they have like different translation lines. Like for one line, like let's say the Japanese person would say, "I'm going to kill you." They have to, when it becomes licensed and it gets translated, they have to create a script from the lines that were given in Japanese. They have to adapt the script into something that not only carries the same weight of what the Japanese were saying, but they also have to match it with the lip flaps.
Yeah.
That's true.
Which is hard to do. Even dub actors always say that it's hard to do. But once you get practicing with it, do it. Like Joel McDonald, voice actor for Zareth in Fairy Tale. He talked about it in a podcast I listened to at one point. He said that there was a line that he had to adapt from a series where it was this one long diatribe. This girl was giving a speech to her soldiers and things like that, and the lip flaps were just very spaced out, very sporadic, and so he had trouble adapting that line.
So he had to condense it.
Yeah, so it's
That's true.
It's hard. It's kind of hard to
Honestly, I didn't even think about that.
Neither did I.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So so they do the best way they can, and they don't just have the artistic freedom to do with whatever they want, because the Japanese directors also have a say in what the line is translated into.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they have like they'll give you 3 choices or something like that, like multiple choices, and then they'll say like, "Oh, this is right here." The English voice actors will try to use this line, but then the Japanese will come in and say like, "Hey, I know you like this line, but this line is actually a lot better." So they have to confer with the Japanese, and the Japanese have to give the okay for the line. So even if the line doesn't really fit or doesn't make any sense to us, it's going to the Japanese directors and the Japanese producers too. So we're getting what the Japanese originally intended for the most part. Now sometimes dub actors and dubs, licensors take complete artistic liberties. Perfect example: Ghost Stories.
Oh yeah.
Ghost Stories in Japan, it was a very horrific. It was meant to be a horror anime, perfect, and yet when it was translated into English,
It was even better than
it was turned into a complete comedy series.
But that's what made it good.
All right, guys. I hate to cut us off here. I'm really not trying to do this, but we only got 10 minutes in here left. So I want to thank
Next time.
for next time I want to thank my fans who are our fans who's watching this video right now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, notification button.
Don't forget to like too.
Don't forget to hit the like button. This man's on top of it, clearly.
You've done this before.
Make a comment too while you're at it.
Just leave us a couple of comments what you thought of the video. Please try to keep it as positive as you can, because if not, I'm just going to remove your comment. If you have any questions for us, shoot them and we'll try to answer them in the next one. And I guess my question for you guys is, what do you prefer, sub versus dub? Thank you guys for paying attention. This is Weebs in Motion.
Thanks.
Peace.
Peace.